republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, I'll say welcome back to the boardroom.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. And then we will move on to public comment. Anyone already worried about saying your name wrong, even though Dana helped me with it?
Where do I go forward?
Well, Madam Chair, members of the board, with the recent resignations of our superintendent and assistant superintendent, the search for replacements will need to take place. The relationship between the GCA and both positions is a vital one, as it is with the board. These relationships must be able to work together and with each other to make sure the overall well-being of the district remain ongoing. We have many topics and concerns that affect the GCA and our association as it does the district. The association has always been able to work through these topics and concerns with the current administration. Because of the importance of this relationship, I would like to request that 1 to 2 active GCA members be a part of the Search and Screen Committee. I know this will be time sensitive and fast moving, so the association would like a quick response and 1 or 2 seats on the committee. Thank you for your time and consideration. With respect. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the only public comment. So we're going to move on to recognitions.
My turn?
Yes, your turn.
All right. Well, tonight we have 2 people who are joining us, so I'd like to ask Melissa Sable and Drew Tone to come forward, and we'll use this side of the room. How's that? Kind of change things up here a little bit. Oh, am I supposed to use that side? Yeah, I guess we'll use that side.
Yeah. Celebrities and all.
No.
So about 5 years ago, Melissa and Drew came to me with an idea about raising funds for merit-based scholarships for Garden City High School students, and they had some really grand ideas. And the great thing about working with really amazing people is a lot of times they can take those grand ideas and put them into place. So through lots of hard work, Melissa and a number of helpers, and Drew along with that, created the Buffalo Living Legacy Fund that I believe for 5 years now, this will be the 6th year, right?
6 years, yeah.
Yep, we'll be handing out scholarships to Garden City High School seniors. And they really did this with the idea that these scholarships should go to students who really embody the idea of what it really means to be a Buffalo. And they're not necessarily need-based, but they're really merit-based scholarships. And they have invested in some amazing young people through that process. They raised the funds for that. They used the Garden City Public Schools Foundation and the Western Kansas Community Foundation to house those funds. But if it weren't for the efforts of Melissa and her folks, this program would not exist. Along with that came about 3 years ago the idea for the Garden City High School Buffalo Athletics Hall of Fame. And this year at New Year's time, I think we inducted our 3rd class. Class number 2 is kind of tricky because of all the stuff going on with COVID. But again, another, I think, premier addition to what we're doing to recognize our amazing people that have come through Garden City High School. So that does not, that's not an option for current students or even recent graduates. I believe you have to be out of school 10 years. But it recognizes former athletes, former coaches, former teams that have really excelled during their time as Buffaloes. And again, without Drew's work on that and Melissa's work, that wouldn't have come to fruition either. So tonight we have Friend of Education certificates to recognize them, but this is just an amazing example of what happens in our community here in Garden City. So Melissa and Drew, thank you so much for all you do.
Thanks for your
I think we want to do a picture. You guys want to come up here and get in a picture with us? Come on. Let's scoot up here a little bit so the audience not right.
Can I put my arm around you?
Yeah, scary. Everybody get friendly.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.
All these guys. This is the
Thank you.
next event, so we're switching up a little bit. Jobs.
See you then.
Yes.
All right. I'll get my registration in.
Okay.
Early registration.
I'm a good golf cart driver. Thank you, guys. Okay, and now we have our building presentation from GC&G. I know he's here somewhere.
I did one of these in the fall, and I gave cups away, so we've got some new folks. Thank you. All right. I don't know how the technology is going to work. Where do I
You
put it?
have to unplug the mouse.
Okay.
Jason's a.
While they're working on that, I might give a little update. So
I don't.
you see some new things in the boardroom, but unfortunately there was one piece that didn't work as it was supposed to. They had to send it off and get a replacement, and it happens to be, of course, the most important piece. So what we're doing is kind of piecing some of this together. It's nice to be home and be back here, but hopefully later this week we'll have the right the good parts in it that we can actually do some training. So this kind of thing will be a little smoother going forward. But that was Stephanie, Roy, and Leanne that have been working on that. So.
I guess I'll fill some more time here too. I am going to sneak out kind of in the middle of the meeting to go watch my senior on the homecoming court. So Dana's willingly said she'd take over. I just didn't want it to appear rude if I need to leave during a presentation or something like that. I'm a little partial to being there for my senior, so thanks for understanding that. New technology.
We still have Mark.
Are you gonna sing for us? Oh, yeah. I thought you were volunteering, Dana.
Mark says he's still there and can hear us.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming through really well, so.
Good. Mark, I was gonna tell you, you looked good on the screen too. I can't see you now, but when you were there.
Well, it's kind of a terrible room for lighting, so I've been experimenting with a few things, so thank you.
I got anxious about some big meetings,
Well, you got rid of the original alert. So.
Yeah. So I passed it on, that's it.
So your Zoom is not up still.
Still going in.
We just talked at the latest retreat. We just talked about the standards and
There it is, I see it.
Okay, yep. Thank you, Mark.
We'll make this quick. Hopefully Glenda didn't start my timer already.
Yeah, 5 minutes ago.
All right, so my name's Lucas Sullivan, and I'm going to talk about GC Achieve, some of the programs that we have at GC Achieve, formerly the Alternative Education Center. But the one thing I would really want to highlight tonight is our student council. I have one of our graduates, Bibiana, graduated in December, and she's one of our active members on our Stuco, and she was able to be here tonight. So first off, I would just want to kind of go through some of the changes that we have put in place this year at our building. Our building encompasses the day school, which is a special education program, the Therapeutic School, the alternative, it used to be Alternative High School, Achieve High School, the Virtual Academy, Garden City Community College Auto, we have Gear Up Kansas, we have Adaptive PE, our OTs and OPs. So, and Jennifer's been to our building. There's a lot of different moving parts in our building, and I think new board members are coming Thursday, if I'm correct. So, lots of different things going on at the J.D. Adams building. So just some things that we've changed this year. We've got the alternative high school and the TP are on the same schedule. One thing that was very big for the students and staff were vending machines, just something simple, but a huge thing for our students and our staff. Obviously, you can see the new logo, the new branding, our school name. Just getting rid of the negative, some of the negative thoughts with alternative setting and GC Achieve. Our kids are really buying in. One thing that I don't have on the presentation that our Stuco's done is get a lot of gear in kids' hands and staff's hands. So getting that gear out there, similar to when we started at Horace Good, just getting that brand, that name out there. Another thing that we are a pilot school for the Project Echo for anti-vaping. So, and I'll talk more about that on Thursday, but just we have an action plan, and we were one of, I think, 30 schools in the state, and the only alternative school that was selected for this process. So it's been really cool working with the state, coming up with an action plan that we're kind of going to be putting into place second semester. Lots of community partnerships, Empirical Foods, Feed America, GC Arts, the growth of the automotive, future addition of a playground. I want to thank Dr. Carlin and Glenda on their help with that. I'm told August 1st is our date that we're going to try to have a playground ready to go for our kids next year, which I'm very, very excited for our kids having that opportunity. So other things, we were able to get radios. Safety's a big thing of mine, so we were able to get 10 radios. All lead teachers, all staff have radios in our building now. And then we've updated our cameras and monitoring system. I now have a TV in my office that has all the cameras in the building up so I can see what's going on in real time. So just some of those things with safety. But the big thing I wanted to talk to you today was our Stuco and all the things that they've done in the first semester. One thing that our Stuco did was a fall fest. So this included every kid in the building. Every kid got to either participate or help. Stuco really came up with the different activities, but every classroom had our high school kids working with our either day school TEP kids and doing different fun during Fall Fest. So this was kind of a cool thing that incorporated everybody, got everybody in the building, and I don't know, I just know our little people in the classrooms really loved interaction with the high school students was awesome. Monthly popcorn sales is something that they do to raise money for different things throughout the year. So one thing we did with Feed America, we got a bunch of boxes this summer with food, and also it had a lot of different products. And it had some female like cleansing products, makeup, stuff like that. And we really like, what are we going to do with this? So our Stuco got together and let's make spa kits for family crisis, and they were able to give those out to people that were in need of that. So that was a really cool thing that they did. Another deal was a fundraiser, and thanks to those people that bought tickets, but we came up with 5 baskets. So basically every class came up with a different basket, and we raffled those off, and it went to one of our students who was fighting cancer, and we were able to give them a check and some other things for them to work on, for them to help with, traveling back and forth to Kansas City to Children's Mercy and helping that student back, and he's back in the classroom, and just a really cool thing that our kids did, and that was, again, Stuco came up with those ideas. Another thing, and this was, I was at the Veterans Day Parade, and I'm like, that'd be cool if we could have a float in the Christmas parade, and I gave it to Stuco with about 3 weeks, and they were able to get it together and have a float in the parade. So I really thought, another thing, getting our name out there, getting that positive energy. I know that they had a good time with it and really enjoyed getting our name out there. Another little thing for our first responders, they did breakfast. We had firefighters, police, EMT in, and they cooked breakfast for our first responders. So again, trying to give back to the community, and then get our name out there. Just a lot of the firefighters that maybe went to Garden City High School, we didn't even know what JD Adams has or what's here now. So it was just a good opportunity, again, to give back to the community. Our Feed America, our pantry, we were able to give, and these boxes, every kid in our building got a box of food before Christmas break. And talking to some of the families, that was the ability to get presents for kids because they didn't have to worry about food over the break. And so to give back to every kid in the building, and even our virtual academy kids that wanted boxes of food were able to get it. So all of our TEP students, all of our day school students, everybody at the high school and virtual academy were able to leave with a box of food before Christmas break. So just another really cool thing that we were able to do with and again, this is our Stuco working hard. You can see all the different boxes of food and just getting that together. And then another fun thing, as we did at the end of the year, was a holiday door contest. But just, again, everybody's involved. We have, every class participated in this, and just something fun to bring the building together. And so our Stuco members, I just wanted to give a shout out to our Stuco members, Shayla, Manny, Bibiana, who's here, plans on going to Garden City Community College and then on to Fort Hays. Alexia, Jennifer, Danae, Tolando, Emily, Jacqueline, who also was a December graduate, Merrick, Desmond, and Kelton. And then this being Counselors Week, our school counselor, she's also the lead teacher at the Achieve High School, and also our Stuco sponsor, Christina Yonkman, does an amazing job getting all these activities arranged for them. So I don't know, was there a favorite activity that you had to be on that?
Honestly, I think I would like to say it would be definitely the parade, just because it did give us the opportunity to like step out of just that building. Like we got to put out the word and say, again, with the negativity of alternative, putting out the name of Achieve does give you like the idea of maybe this is something good for me, something that I do want. So that was definitely something that I really enjoyed to do. And even just if, again, something that was on short term, like notice, we got it together because we do have that, you know, that teamwork. We communicate, we talk about things, and it just makes everything so much easier for us to put these activities together. And I'm actually really thankful that we actually got to do these things, and I myself to be able to participate with them just again, because I did graduate in December, and I'm thankful to say that a lot of these ideas were part of my, like, I guess for me, and like just in general, the whole group. And it was very, very fun. It was a really great experience for everybody. So definitely enjoy that.
That concludes our presentation. If there's any questions or anything for us, I appreciate the time.
I just want to say thank you for putting in the extra time and effort and energy, because I really feel like that part of student success is student engagement. And so when you take the extra time to do those more relationship and bonding and those extra activities, and not only did it benefit you all, but the community as well. And just so everybody can kind of get a maybe how many of those boxes, can you tell us the number of students that you currently have?
There were, I believe there were around 120 boxes that went out. There's 150 students at the virtual, but there was just a small number at the virtual that took boxes. But I think 120 boxes went out total in the buildings.
That's awesome. Well, it's really fun as a board member to see all the things. I know it had already kind of gained some momentum, and you're just like, continuing on with that, and snowballing it, making it even bigger. So thank you.
Yeah, and it's the kids are the ones they're amazing, and we've just given them rope and they ran with it. I mean, they are doing a great job with different activities, and the Stuco has been amazing. So.
It was just really something that we wanted to do, just because the year before, due to COVID, we weren't really allowed to do a lot of these things, and it was something that in our building, being such a small building, you kind of crave, you want these things, like again with the bigger building at the high school, you want to feel a part of these situations, these things that we do. And I feel like one thing that we did is like make sure all of us were included to do it. That's why we did a lot with like our TEP kids and just like our smaller kids. We wanted to make them feel included as well, not just our side of the building. It was just something that we all really wanted to do, and it was something that actually came together.
Just real quick too, because not everybody knows all the acronyms. Can you tell them what TEP is?
Yes, sorry. Yeah, education is full of acronyms. It's the Therapeutic School, so basically we have a K3 classroom that has 10 kids. We have a 4th, 5th, 6th grade classroom, which we call the Middle Littles. That's a brand new classroom we added at semester for 10 kids. Middle school, 7th and 8th, and then high school. There's 10 kids, and those kids can come in referrals anywhere in the district through Compass, through counselors, through principals, or through parents. And it's just students basically that have social emotional issues, anxiety, whatever it might be, and then giving them the tools to go back to their home school and be successful there. And then the day school is also kind of part of that, but it's more of a special education setting with Lisa Jewell there. So.
Just make a comment. I just wanted to thank you for your presentation, and thank you for your passion for your students, and I look forward to going to your building on Thursday.
We look forward to having you. So really good. So, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
And I want to thank you. I'm a little partial to the school because it's Teddy's favorite. So, but Mr. Sullivan, I don't know how you're going to watch those screens in your office, because when I'm there, you're always out of your office, and it's not just because things are stressful and teachers need you, but you're always interacting with the kids and popping in just to either be part of the lesson or tell them they're doing a good job or come see Teddy. I don't know, maybe that's why I get to see you, but I really appreciate that. And Christina, what she does with the Stuco and the counselor. That's extra outside of all of her other responsibilities. So she's been an amazing leader, and I appreciate that you came tonight to share because I see the skills that you and the other students have acquired by being on the speaking skills, the planning skills, and that's going to continue into your education and help you to be very successful when you get on to college. So
Thank you.
be proud and take credit for all the planning you did because
Thank you. No, one more thing I would like to add is Mr. Sullivan did do a great job this year. I did only get to enjoy it for one semester, but there was a lot of changes that were for the good. Like there was a lot of things that were happening, and just like paying attention and being more active. He kind of builds like a connection one-on-one with students. You know, like I could still come up to him like, oh, you know, Mr. Sullivan, like this is what I'm doing with school, and I feel like that's a big part of it. Like Miss Youngman as well, she builds a connection with you and make sure she reassures that, you know, she'll make time for you and stuff like that. And that's another thing, beyond of all their responsibilities, they still make that time to have that connection with students. And I don't know, I feel like that just made a big change in our building. So that's one thing that I'd like to say.
it's like one big family.
Yeah, it is. It brought us, a lot of us together. Like I said, we didn't get to do a lot of these things last year. So now that we actually have this communication, and even just to be, you know, clear and just be like, okay, you know, this is then an idea, and for it to come alive and to see the progress that it's made. Like Stuco, we started off just like a maybe, and just to see how much it grew and just how much it's still growing even though I'm not there. You know, it gives you like a sense of accomplishment that like you did make a difference, and that's how I feel. And like I said, you know, I am a graduate now, and I had told Mr. Sullivan and Miss Youngman, if you ever need me, I will come around. Same reason I'm here, just because I'm very passionate about it. It was something, I was a really shy kid. I didn't like to socialize or anything, so it did bring me out of my comfort zone, and it did make me push my limits to be better. So that is one thing for sure.
She doesn't know this yet, but we may be talking about a para position here shortly. No, thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, how about Viviana? She's going to be an awesome graduate. Thank you, guys.
I guess we're moving on to correspondence. Okay, move on to the consent agenda.
Madam President, I move that we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Yeah.
Do I have to say that? Okay, as amended.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Sorry, Mark, I meant to wait for you. And we are moving on to our board goals update.
I accidentally unshared the screen. Now I don't know how to reshare it with Mark.
Not very good at filling the silence. Do you have anything else?
Couldn't get to that spot. Yeah.
I guess.
All right, good evening. I'm here for a career and technical education update. And since some of you are new, I wanted to start with just a quick overview of career and tech ed and who I am. So I'm Jenny Hans, and I began teaching in 2012. I taught creative writing and ESL language elective, not in this district. Then I moved to Garden City, started at Garden City High School in 2014. I taught English and journalism. That was my introduction to the world of career and technical education. And I have been the Career and Technical Education Coordinator since July 1st of 2016. I love that I get to have the opportunity to make opportunities for our students, and that's really how I view my position and what I do in the district. So about career and technical education, CTE status is given to courses by the State Department of Education. Most of the courses in Career and Tech Ed earn 0.5 weighted funding. There is a misconception that it's all courses. Not all courses do get that 0.5 weighted funding. Our introductory level courses do not. And then any dual credit courses that fall under CTE do not get that weighting either. So then I did give you a handout that can try to help explain all this a little bit. So if you look at this page, each of the headings that are next to a building are what we call a cluster. So that's an umbrella area that covers a grouping of CTE pathways. You will notice some of the umbrella areas only have one thing under their umbrella, but some of them have more. I went ahead on this page and then underlined the pathways that we offer here in Garden City, so you can kind of see which ones we do offer. So a pathway is a grouping of classes that prepare a student for a high-skill, high-wage career or post-secondary education and training after they've completed that. So we have 3 course levels for each pathway. The minimum number of courses to have a pathway is 3. So we have to have at least 1 introductory level, 1 technical level, 1 application level. Many of our courses, many of our pathways have more than 3 courses. Most of them do. But that is like the minimum. If we were to start a new pathway, we would need those 3 classes at the 3 different levels. So our goal is to make something called CTE completers. Those are students who earn 3 or more credits in 2 or more levels of a singular pathway and earn an industry recognized credential. Some of our big ones are Serve Safe in both early childhood education and restaurant event management. Also OSHA 10, which covers so many of our pathways. We do have others as well, but those are our 2 main ones where we have the most students completing right now. We also have a term called concentrators, and those are students who earn 2 or more credits on a pathway, but don't have that industry recognized credential. The state also appreciates when we get those. We get a little bump, not in funding or anything, just in like a thumbs up, good job. So we track our concentrators and completers. Everyone else is considered a participant if they've taken at least half a credit in career and technical education. Also, behind there, as we talk about the clusters and pathways we have here, which I underlined on that first page. But you can see this is from our updated enrollment guide that just went to the printer today. And these are the pathways and courses in each cluster that we offer here. And I did go ahead and type them out, but I don't see much need to actually read them to you. So here they are. They're pretty. They look great on there. So those are the things that we do for the state of Kansas, or under the state of Kansas's umbrella of what career and technical education is. Sometimes in CTE, we do what's best for kids, even if it doesn't fall under that umbrella. We're trying to make sure that we have all of the opportunities that a student needs, and sometimes just the framework that would be ideal doesn't exist, so we just make our own. Not so we're still like approved and everything. We're just doing our own thing. So here's some of our doing our own things that we do. One of them is work-based learning. Through career and technical education, work-based learning is very important. It's just the way that it's structured right now at the state level is very difficult to do. They want one specific teacher for each individual work-based learning that would fall under each individual pathway, and that is just too much staff to dedicate in that time. And so what we did is we created a work-based learning class that can be for any student, regardless of what pathway they're in, or what job area it is. And so we do still have some CTE programs that we offered before, some CTE work-based learning opportunities. So this year we have 43 students between first and second semester that fit in those CTE course numbers, and we're still putting those students in those if it fits in a CTE course number. If it doesn't, though, this opportunity did not exist prior to this year, and now we have 66 students who are in a non-CTE work-based learning experience. To me, that is career and technical education. They are at work, they are learning job skills. So we have 109 students total doing work-based learning this year, which is an amazing increase over what we've had in the past because we've been limited by following the pathway-specific guidelines. So that's exciting. Also, some of our dual credit classes that we're offering are not a part of one of our pathways. Maybe we don't have the teacher or the resources or the space or the time to have a full intro level, technical level, application level course, but our students still have an interest and our community has a need. So we've partnered with Garden City Community College to offer a few new programs. So some of these are in their, these are mostly in their second year, EMR is in their first year. But we have 9 high school students and 7 Achieve students doing automotive technician. That does not fall into one of our specific pathways. We have 9 students in carpentry and 4 students earning their manicuring certification and 3 students in emergency medical responder. So we're really excited about those. We did not add any new classes this year. We thought we've added quite a few. We need to make sure they're going well, so we're focused on just making sure that those are successful before we continue on adding more things. So a big topic in career and technical education is Perkins Funding. And so I have spent quite a few hours in the past few weeks working on what's called our Local Comprehensive Needs Assessment for Perkins 5, or we just call it the LCNA. Again, education, acronyms. No one wants to say Local Comprehensive Needs Assessment more times than they have to. So this is a new requirement under Perkins 5, and this is just our 3rd year working under Perkins 5. And it is completed for a region every 2 years. So we did it 2 years ago. We completed it today at 2:30 p.m. So I'm excited to tell you that it is submitted. It is dual responsibility shared between Garden City Community College and our regional secondary schools. I am one of the regional co-chairs, along with Chuck Pfeiffer, who's the Dean of Technical Education at the college. I'm super happy to be a part of it. It is a voluntold position, but I enjoy it. I think it's great. It is hard work. So what it is an in-depth analysis of all of our CTE strengths and gaps in our whole region, which I'll skip a couple down. Our region is Cimarron, Ensign, Greeley County, Lakin, Deerfield, Holcomb, Scott City, Leota, Ingalls, Dighton, Syracuse, and Garden City. So when we analyze all of the stuff, we're looking at a labor market analysis that comes from the Kansas Department of Labor. We're looking at our student performance analysis of all students in the region, and we're looking at the CTE programs that are available to all students in our region. Why this is important, other than making sure that we are getting our students prepared for careers that are in our region, is that our Perkins $5 can only be spent on items that are addressed in the local comprehensive needs assessment. So we are very careful to make sure that we don't miss anything, and we need to be thinking 2 years ahead of things we might want to be doing, because we need to make sure it's in our needs assessment. So here's just a quick overview of some things we've done and found as we've worked on this comprehensive needs assessment. One of the things we do with the labor market analysis is look at that data that the Kansas Department of Labor gave to us. We do have some concerns on validity in some of these areas, and I will just recognize that. And if you looked at the full document, which I can send you, it is 51 pages, super fun to read. In that, we addressed, if there was something we felt that was not correct, we addressed that, but still wrote to the numbers they gave us. So it wouldn't be surprising to hear that we have 6,000 annual openings in food products and processing systems, that is our highest need in our community. That is not surprising. Second is commercial drivers. Third, travel and tourism, emergency and fire management, accounting and networking systems. So then we do not offer these programs currently. We need to talk about why we don't offer them. That's in our local needs assessment. Food products and processing systems, what KSDE has aligned as that pathway is not what our local industry needs. And so until those are aligned, we don't see the value in offering a food products and processing systems. It's more about growing food and not about processing food. And so that is something that we hope to get changed, but at the moment it's not, and it's not worth our Then next is commercial drivers, and I'm actually going to talk about that in a minute. Travel and tourism, if you actually get into the data, it's really talking about positions that don't require anything more than a high school diploma. So we don't really see the point in putting in a pathway. You know, we all know how to make our bed. You can pretty easily translate that without having to take classes at high school level. We do offer some accounting classes, it's just not a particular program. So we have good reasons for everything, and you're welcome to ask me for a copy of that if you'd like to read it. So then another category is pathways that we offer, but we still are not making enough students, enough completers and concentrators in that area. And that's most of them: comprehensive agriculture, power structural, teaching training. We all know that we need more teachers, it's not a surprise. Everything over there. Then there is the pathways that are offered, but we are making too many concentrators and completers. This is where our committee again had some disagreements with what the data said, and we wrote to that. So we have biomedical, graphic design, fashion apparel and interior design, web and digital communications, and engineering and applied mathematics. And most of these, our regional data said that we do not need, for example, graphic designers. We don't have a need for that. However, we argue that most businesses in our community need some experience in graphic design. You might not be hiring someone with only graphic design as their job, but they're going to be doing some amount of marketing, some amount of graphic design is becoming more and more a part of everyone's job. And so that training is still valuable and important. And we've made that almost the same argument with all 5 of those areas. And the other argument is that we have students going outside of our region and being successful, so we would not want to cancel a program that's causing a student to have success. We also analyzed our student performance, and here for just a quick part of this presentation, I'm deviating from our local needs assessment to just talk about Garden City for 2 reasons. The first is that the data they gave us is skewed. 2 out of the 11 districts reported 0 in all categories and really skewed our average. 4 out of the 11 districts reported 0 in 1 or more categories. So that made this part very challenging to write. My second reason is I think you only probably care about Garden City's data. So I'm just giving you that. So as you can see, we have 7 areas that we track, and we've tracked for years in career and technical education. And we are, all of the ones that are teal there, we are exceeding or meeting the state goal. So that's graduation rate, our total placement, that's in college or career, non-traditional concentration. When we say the word non-traditional in career and tech ed, we're talking about gender only. So you have boys in health science is non-traditional, you have boys in restaurant and event management, girls taking classes in manufacturing, all of those are non-traditional. And if you're interested in that, there's an indicator on that first page of which pathways are non-traditional by which gender. And that is also set by the state, not by me. So we're exceeding the state goal there, and in post-secondary credits attained. Where we're struggling still is in academics, in reading, math, and science. Here is a nice little chart that none of you can probably read. But what I wanted to point out is this is our special populations. So not only do we track overall, we track by special population, individuals with disabilities, economically disadvantaged, English learners, non-traditional students, students with a migrant worker parent, homeless and migrant, active military parents, foster care youth, and then we have the total at the bottom. So what I'd like to point out is in a lot of these areas, especially right here, post-secondary credits attained, the state goal is 52%. And for example, non-traditional enrollees is at 51, English learners is at 43. So although those special populations are not meeting the goal, we are close. We could get there, I would say, fairly soon. We're just not quite there right now. We also evaluate our CTE programs. So looking at the size, scope, and quality, we are in a lot of our areas we talked about, we're not producing enough concentrators, but our classrooms are full, our teachers' schedules are full. We are operating at capacity. That was true of all of the school districts in our region. It was also true at the community college. We felt that was important to include, that we really are doing the best that we can. We have great community partnerships. We would like to work with industry partners to create multiple entry and exit points in our programs that's tied to earning. So we could show a student, if you take this pathway, you could get hired here and you could make this much money, versus you don't take this pathway, you get hired, you'll be at this level. So trying to help get some incentive that's tied to dollars. And also we would like to continue to improve our advisory councils and use their input even more. Some of our pathways are doing great with that. Some could use some improvement. Implementing programs of study. We have made a lot of progress in the number of dual credit classes that are CTE and available to students. But if we want to see those special populations numbers increase, we need to add a few more, and we need to be pretty specific about finding out which one would be the best to add. We are doing a good job with career exploration programs, but feel that it needs to expand to younger students in our region. And we would like to petition KSDE to include more credentials on their approved list. They have a list of credentials that makes a student successful, and if it's not on that list, it just doesn't count. And we feel that there are many that should count. So we would like to learn more about how we petition to change their list. It's called the Kpac Report. It's available on their website. And we'd just like to find out how we could add certain credentials.
Do you have an example of that? Like, what would be an example that you think needs to be added?
There is, for example, I cannot think of what it's called. There is a graphic design certification that's at more of a high school level, and KSDE is only approving if they get the Adobe certification, which is extremely challenging. It's not at a high school level, so we'd like to look for the one that's at a high school appropriate level, something that's more entry level than that insanely advanced Adobe certification. Because we have had students try and take it, and we have not yet had a student earn it. It's not at an appropriate level. Then there are some pathways that don't have any certifications that are approved, so we'd like to find one and suggest that get approved. We also have recruitment, retention, and training. I feel like he should be the one that talks about this. Of course, we have a teacher shortage, so CTE is affected by that. We do have the alternate route for teaching CTE for credentials for that. We've used that. Garden City Community College has used that as well. That just requires that someone has worked in that industry for 5 or more years to be credentialed, and we have used that. We do use a significant portion of our Perkins funds for CTE-focused professional development. We offer a competitive benefits package in our district. But one thing that is important to note when we're talking about career and tech ed, recruitment and retention, is that CTE teachers could make more money working in the industry than they can with us, and so that's just going to be an ongoing struggle. And then progress toward improving access and equity. We feel we have a strong English language learner program. Our graduation rate, placement rate, non-traditional program completion, and post-secondary credits rates are all very high in that big chart I showed you. We're doing pretty well in all of those areas. That's a great highlight. And the job shadowing and work-based opportunities that I talked about earlier are plentiful now. So I'm proud to announce that we submitted that. That is quite a few hours of work between Chuck Pfeiffer and myself. And so what's next? So there's something that KSDE does called the Cte Scholarship. Those applications are due March 1st. Right now I know of 9 students who are working toward that application. It is a rigorous application, and I hope that at a future meeting I can bring at least 9 students up in front of you who have earned that award. It's not a scholarship, just an award, but it's still a great accomplishment for our students. Our pathway applications, to keep them in good standing, are also due March 1st. We have 2 that have been submitted to KSDE. 2 are awaiting my review because I've been writing the needs assessment, and 7 are nearing completion, so we have 16 total, and that's where we are there. Our teachers request what they want me to use that Perkins money for. They'll have from March 1st to April 1st to request that. I write the grant in May, it's due June 1st. So that's a big thing coming up for me. And then based on the local comprehensive needs assessment and discussions with our community stakeholders, I'm always researching the possibility of adding something new. So right now, what has piqued my interest is a CDL program. This is not an announcement, not even close to an announcement, but I am very interested in seeing if that is a possibility for our district. We would be the only high school in the state of Kansas that is doing that if we did that. Also, I had a community request to look at an insurance agent certification, and they have, the insurance industry has this like laid out and ready for us. So just need to look at whether or not that's something that would fit into our schedule and our day. And so that's something else that's just on the horizon. And finally, we are planning a new event at the high school this year called Decision Day. So not only students going on to post-secondary education, but also students going on to a career and having a day where they celebrate that decision. And we'd like to pair that with a job fair that comes at a very strategic time right before that date. So that's something that we have in mind and are hoping to get done at the end of April or beginning of May. So, what questions and comments do you have for me about CTE?
I have a question about the CDL program. Is there an age limit on what age you can have a CDL, and then does Garden City Community College have a CDL program?
Garden City Community College does not have a CDL program, and they have no interest in ever having one. So, I have been given the blessing by Chuck Pfeiffer, the Dean of Technical Education, to move forward. He has no interest. We would not be at all stepping on their toes. If I know not everyone really pays attention to like the news of the world of CDL, but actually today new requirements go into place, and any new driver getting their CDL has to go through what's called an entry-level driving certificate training program, and so that's what we would be looking at offering. We had not pursued this in the past because you had to be 21 to cross state lines, and our industry, we're so close to Colorado and Oklahoma and Texas that they're driving across state lines and they're not hireable until they're 21. With the entry-level driving change, once they've gone through that program and have their CDL, 18-year-olds are approved to go across straight state lines. They can drive curves. So that is why I am now interested. I've been interested for years, but it hasn't been a feasible opportunity. With that change in the state law, I'm seeing, you know what, there might be an opportunity. Again, not an announcement. I'm not sure that we can do it. It's just something that I'm looking into.
I think the CDL program would be great. I know the college in Dodge has a program.
Yeah, we have, I mean, it's our second highest need in the region. So I think we definitely have the data to support the beginning of that, the implementation of that. So I think it's going to come down to our community partnerships. Some of the things I'm thinking about is how, you know, if we have a community partner that could loan us a semi and a driver, because the students need a certain number of hours of sitting next to a driver and then driving with a driver. We actually do have a teacher who is certified to teach already and is interested in it. So that's about as far as I've made it there in my research, but it's coming up. I hope or not.
Can we structure that where they have to work at least 3 years as a school bus driver?
Yeah, so we're definitely going to work with Charlie there. I haven't talked to him yet, been working on the needs assessment. But yeah, that would definitely be a part of it. Maybe not the requirement, but we would make sure that they are certified to drive a school bus. Any other questions or comments?
Well, Jenny, I always really appreciate your presentations. It's always just fascinating, all the things that you do, and I appreciate the collaboration and all the effort that you put into what seems very big. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me speed talk. I went over my time, but tried to get through it all.
I think this is great. I think this is really I just wanna say, wow. I don't know when you sleep, but things you.
I have a 3-year-old who's waking up at 5 a.m., so not often.
Make sure you're up. The opportunities you're providing and creating pathways for these students to be successful and to contribute to our community it's amazing, and it's an asset to our district that I hope more people realize that.
Thank you.
You're doing a lot of good things. Thank you.
I'm trying.
Our next board goals update. It didn't tell me who's, oh, it does tell me if I read it far enough. Otherwise I would.
It's just really, really long, Jen.
I'm the kid that didn't read all the instructions at the beginning of the test. Someday I'll learn.
Oh, there it is, okay. No,
No, that's mine, so.
I gotta stop sharing, that's the problem. I didn't realize that Jen was still up. Yeah. Yeah. Let's try again. Okay, can you still? Oh, yeah. See, I'm just as bad as you, Jennifer. I didn't read all the way through there either, so that's why I was bringing up the wrong thing. All right.
I'm gonna work on that, I promise. Maybe I turn my agendas on.
All right. There we go.
Mr. Root, can you see the presentation?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to introduce Diane Elliott. Diane is our SEL facilitator for the district. It's a new position that we created with some of our ESSERS funds. And so Diane's job is primarily anything social and emotional related, whether that's related to students, parents, staff. And so part of that is to look at the data and kind of go over some things. And so she's going to go over the communities that care data with you all and kind of highlight. I think you all got a copy of the whole survey, and so we kind of just have some highlights that we're going to go over and then take any questions that you have after that. So you're up, Miss Elliott. You want me to run this, or do you want to come over here?
I'll.
Okay, wherever you're comfortable.
Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight. And so the Kansas Communities That Care survey data is a survey that is given statewide to students in grades 6, 8, 10, and 12. And it compares our results to those of a statewide average. We can also identify trends over the past few years through this survey. Some of the quick notes, we saw alcohol, marijuana, opioid use trending downward. Sadness and suicidal ideation is trending upward. And bullying is down, except for cyberbullying. We can also see how these results compare to statewide averages, like I say, and we're doing pretty well in several of those areas. Board goals, 3.3 and 3.4, those are related to making sure we have data that we can then respond to.
So risk factors, these are areas that we want to try to work with mitigation and education. We want to have a decreasing trend, and you'll see on the final column there that most of them are decreasing. We have a few that are increasing. You can see that the local scores are in the first column and the Kansas scores are in the second. And I'll talk about a couple of the areas here shortly. Alcohol use in the past 30 days, if you look at the chart, the overall trend is down. The only grade level that went up was 6th grade from last year. So, but it's still down from 2018-19. So that's what we're seeing with alcohol use. Marijuana use in the last 30 days is also down. 2018-19 again was a peak year in the last few years. Bullying data, mostly we are below the state averages. There are a couple areas that are a little bit higher, so that is good news. And cyberbullying, though, is an area where we saw an increase. And you'll see in the 6th grade, that again was the biggest jump that we saw. As far as sadness and suicidal ideation, we know that one of the signs of depression is changing some behaviors, and stopping unusual activities is up compared to last year in all grades and both male and female genders. We are, however, below the state average, except for in 2 of those categories. You'll notice that the red boxes are the ones where we are not below the state average. Have you ever thought seriously about killing yourself? Again, we do see some increases there over the prior year. So those are the red percentages in the various categories. So this question is asked in 3 different ways: in the past 30 days, in the past year, and over 1 year ago. Protective factors, these are areas we would like to see an increasing trend, and you'll notice that most of these are increasing except for the areas of family. Family rewards, family attachment, family opportunities for involvement. Those are the ones that we're seeing not going the direction that we want. As far as the school domain, we have some good news in those areas. We have some increases in chances to be a part of class discussions and activities. We have some increases in enjoyment for being at school. We had a decrease and then we're going back up. So that's something that we've seen. And then there was a couple other increases. Chances in my school to talk with a teacher one-on-one, and then also feeling safe at school. So those were some protective factors that we are seeing increasing. Do you have any questions about the data? I know there was a lot in the reports. That is just a quick few highlights and concerns. Yes.
Question. I know I was talking to Dr. Carter earlier, and this is used for some grant requests. And so I was wondering if you could talk about what this data is being used for and what kind of funding we've gotten.
There is the Social Emotional Advisory Council that was started in the district a few years ago. And so that group is has done dives into this information. We're currently working on an action plan related to this data, but, and I get to come back in a month, I think, to tell you more about that. But briefly, what we're doing is we're looking at starting a few different pilot programs. One is Signs of Suicide Prevention Program in the middle schools next year. And another is Teen Mental Health First Aid, and that's through a grant with the Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services for GC Achieve students. And that's for increasing mental health literacy and understanding signs and symptoms of mental health challenges and how to talk to friends about them and bring concerns to family. We're also looking at some other things as well as far as informational campaigns for family about how to talk to students about several issues such as vaping or suicide and things like that. So there's some other things as well, but.
Can I jump in?
Yes, please, go ahead.
So some of the programs that grants that we've got would be Lucas's anti-vaping campaign project ECHO requires data that we have to be able to submit. So that was one of them. KESA requires us to report on our local social emotional standards. So that isn't a grant, but it's accreditation. So it's pretty big in my world, so it may not be a grant. We have used it with grants with Lidwell to get curriculum for our health classes and for our elementary classes with bringing the officers and do drug and alcohol awareness and family values and some other things like that. So those would help with those grants as well. The Stop It app that our kids can report whether they're being bullied or, I mean, it's just a way that they can anonymously say, I need help. We had to use data from this to get that grant as well.
And we've also had things that we've done for, like last year, we did the mental health first aid for,
Administrators.
yeah, but I don't remember how many. I want to say 31. 35 administrators went through the training last year. And we've repeated that a couple of times. And then Diane just did mental health first aid for youth.
Adults assisting youth.
Thank you. Adults assisting youth, so that we can recognize. The original one was for like administrators, if they recognize that, and staff or parents. This one is to address the needs of our kiddos, and so we're starting to get that out there too. And those are all grants that we're able to do based on the data. And Lidwell Finney County has been really good to us, and they've come up with a lot of grants, so they've been really good to us.
Has this also sparked some of the, or have we collaborated with the counselors at the high school as well? Because I know they've put on some new parent meetings with some of these issues that you've mentioned already.
Yes, they had one earlier this year about sexting, social media, digital media use, and they've had several other. There was a mental health focused one. The one tonight is about safe dating relationships, I believe. So they're doing some with that as well.
Is there a good turnout to those programs, do you know?
It is pretty small. So we are talking about how to best engage parents and families. So that is something we are open to ideas with.
I have attended one and wanted to attend more, and they aren't well attended, and it's a travesty, honestly, because there's great information provided, and I really believe, like, parents have to unite. It was like meeting some of the parents that were there. There was only 5 or 6 of us, but we all like determined like we need to work together, like protect our kids. Because what I went to was the just more information about vaping and drugs and things like that. So, but I'm thrilled that they are being given, and like you say, you just have to keep trying, and I think it's new, so it takes some time to kind of get the word out to parents too. So I'm one of your advertisers.
Absolutely.
in case you didn't hear earlier, Jennifer had to leave, so her daughter is in the homecoming court tonight, so she didn't want to think that she's not interested in your presentation. She was a senior, so. Now we are going to have our presentation on textbook adoption for the 6th grade science section.
Yes, so if we just are moving from one topic to another more uncomfortable topic, it's the one that makes adults as uncomfortable as it is kids to talk about. But my name is Jason Johnson, Director of Curriculum Assessment, and I've also got with me a couple people that helped with this process. So as I'm getting this up, I'll let them introduce themselves, and then we'll get going. So go ahead.
Okay. I'm Jenny Mitchell. I'm the Sexual Risk Avoidance Specialist. I work with ABC Pregnancy Care Center.
And I'm Byron Clark. I'm a 6th grade teacher at Bernadine Sits.
There we go. Good. So as we got started with this process, we just have to give a little bit of the background information so you know kind of why we are back to looking at sexual risk avoidance curriculum. Then we'll talk about the process that the teachers went through. This was very heavily derived from the teachers. And then talk about the relationship that we built with ABC Pregnancy to also get to this point. So as prior to COVID, sexual reproduction, the unit within science in our curriculum map got moved from 8th grade to 7th grade. Then we had a COVID year, which we didn't get to teach it because it was supposed to be taught after spring break. So we come back to last year, and the decision had been made at that point we were going to move it from 7th to 6th, but our 8th graders and our 7th graders didn't have it yet. So last year, in the spring of 21, 8th grade, 7th grade, and 6th grade all had the sexual reproduction unit done during their science course to make sure everyone got that, because that's part of our state standards is to teach sexual reproduction. As we were looking as it moved down to 6th grade, our 6th grade teachers really kind of communicated with us that there was some issues with the developmental appropriateness of the curriculum that was being used in 6th grade. And so that started a conversation. And that conversation led to ABC Pregnancy was also reaching out because they are added Jenny Mitchell as their education consultant within the organization to help give opportunities to local school districts that have the needs for bringing in outside people to help them with their sexual reproduction unit. And so in August of this year, I met with Erica. So Erica Boone, the executive director with ABC, was here. Met with her about what those potential options were. And at that point in time, they had just hired Jenny as the education consultant, and she went to some training on different curriculums in the area that be. She's also partnered with multiple other districts currently. Deerfield, I believe, for sure, right? You've done, and
yes, we worked with the chief too.
With Garden City Chief already.
The high school, yes.
And we've had partnerships with ABC Pregnancy in the past where they would come in sometimes and just do one topic. But this time we're really partnering with them as a partnership. They're not going to come in and do the teaching of the lessons. They're going to come in and partner with our teachers in delivering of the topics and the lessons that we're going to be looking at. So then as I said, I met with them, and then they came down and looked at 3 different curriculums that they had decided, ABC had decided were probably the top 3 in terms of sexual risk avoidance based on connecting with our state standards. And so we really laid out a map saying, here's our state standards, here are the things that we have to teach, which one fits the best. And so the 3 of us, Erica, Jenny, and I, worked together on deciding which did we feel like fit the best. And we really came down to real essentials, but that wasn't the end point or the starting point. So then at that point in time, we turned it over to the 6th grade teacher. So I'm going to let Mr. Clark discuss what we did with the teachers.
So in one of our in-services in October of 21, we had a collaboration of all the 6th grade science teachers across the district, and ABC Pregnancy came and they presented real essentials. And overall, as 6th grade science teachers, we all really appreciated it. We think it covers all the bases because it also focuses on just healthy relationships in general. And I know that I think some of that SEL data kind of shows just working on healthy relationships across the board would be great. So we reviewed the documents, the scope and sequence of the curriculum, and I think Jenny has those if you want to see them printed out. and the standards that they teach. Then by consensus, we as the 6th grade science teachers, we recommended that it be taken to the Curriculum Council. And in December 2021, ABC Pregnancy Center and the curriculum director presented the curriculum to the council for the option of adoption. And then in January of this year, the Curriculum Council did approve the Real Essentials curriculum for adoption to be voted on by the Board of Education this month. So.
Okay, I do have, this is how Real Essentials aligns with state standards, if you would like to look at that list too, if you haven't seen it. Yes, so Real Essentials, it's was developed by a nurse in Denver, actually. It's all medically based, research based. It's not a values-based program. It covers everything from grade school. The program we're looking at now for our 6th graders goes from 5th to 8th grade. There is a high school curriculum for 9th through 12th grade. They make curriculums for first responders, for military spouses, for businesses, to all with the idea of building better relationships, crosses over into more success in every area of our lives. So up here we have the topics covered, and each week that they get covered. So kind of again going off of what we did was we based all the lessons. There are 170 lessons total within Real Essentials, this curriculum. And we went off of what the state standards are for Kansas for 6th through 8th grade. We looked at what those standards were and how can we meet those standards with this curriculum. Some of them we had to pull from the high school curriculum because they weren't included in the grade school curriculum. Those are more of your STD lessons and pregnancy and those kinds of things. But all of them kind of taper down, knowing the audience that we're teaching to, knowing that we're not teaching to high schoolers, we're teaching to 6th graders. And so nothing in a age inappropriate, the curriculum will fit the culture, the standards kind of where we are. And so really it does we focus a lot on building relationships, being able to recognize what makes a good friend, what makes a bad friend. Knowing how to communicate effectively, knowing how to communicate with adults, knowing how to communicate with your peers and your friends, kind of recognizing the signs of when dangerous situations happen, not just between, like in dating relationships, but also your friends. Because one thing I like to talk to kids about, I always ask them when I go in, how many of you in here have a relationship? And a lot of 6th graders are like, I don't have a relationship, I'm 10. But the reality is we all have relationships. We have parents, we have friends, we have grandparents, we have, we all have relationships with people. And those need to be healthy relationships, which is what we focus on. We focus on having healthy relationships versus having unhealthy relationships, which is something that every person, even children, have the right to have access to, is learning how to have those healthy relationships. It's focused on making sure that every child is included. It's trauma informed. So when we say that, I don't go into the classroom and take the place of a teacher. I go into the classroom with the teacher, because the reality is the teacher's with those students every single day. They have a better relationship. Children can get trauma triggered by things that we may not even think of. And so the idea is that a teacher is there and they will see when a student might get uncomfortable beyond just the regular, hey, we're talking about sex, uncomfortable, it's me, and they might recognize it or I might not. So that is why it's important to have the teachers in the classroom, because we don't want kids hurt. We want kids to be comfortable. And if they feel hurt, if they feel like they've been traumatized by something, then there is an adult, a safe adult there who they know and they have a relationship with that they can go to. And so that's what we mean by trauma informed. It's inclusive in that the language does not exclude anybody. Nobody should be excluded from having these tools. And also knowing that not every student has a parent in their home. All the language is about a parent or a trusted adult, because for some kids that trusted adult isn't going to be a parent. So that's the reality of the life that we live in now. And so it's all written with a very, try to be safe, try to be what's healthy, what's unhealthy, not what's good and bad, what's healthy and what's unhealthy. And the things that are taught here are, they put you on the success sequence, which is used a lot in high school, which is You are 97% more likely to stay out of poverty if you graduate high school, you get some kind of post-secondary education training, get a full-time job, and get married before having children. So that's what the success sequence is, and that is what's stressed in this curriculum, is setting kids on the success sequence. So waiting to have a sexual experience until you're in a long-term committed relationship. So that's what we teach them in this curriculum. Okay. Yes, sample lesson up here. So this would be the toxic friends. It's a lot of self-assessment. It's very hands-on. The kids are very involved. I don't stand up there and give a lecture. It's interaction with the students, building a relationship with those students. Because I do want them to trust me. I want them to be able to feel comfortable because we build up. Because you have to kind of build trust with kids if they're going to listen to you about things that make them uncomfortable, like sex. I can't go in the first day and say, let's talk about sex, kids, and absolutely not. They don't want to hear that. That's not going to be comfortable for them. It's going to be a little weird for me too. So we want to build trust. And we do that through interaction. By talking to them, there's games that we play, there's icebreakers. I interact with the kids. I try to learn their names. I bribe them with candy, all the good things. So we talk about things like toxic friends would be one of our lessons. I would have a PowerPoint presentation that I would go over that would lead them through our discussion. And we would discuss some of these topics up here. Like, when this person's around, do I feel upbeat and energized rather than depleted and drained? This is a self-assessment, okay? This is not me gathering their papers at the end of the day and saying you get an A or a B. This is me, now you need to look at this and think of your friend. And if you answer more of these questions that are yes than no, then should you be friends with that person? And that's what a lot of the lessons are based on. Some of them have hands out, almost all of them have hands out or worksheets that we go over. Some of them I want you to bring back, especially if it talks about talking to your parent or trusted adult. I want you to go home and actually do that. I want you to go home and actually talk to your parent or trusted adult about what are safety barriers online. Setting up those healthy boundaries. We talk about healthy boundaries. Talk about having a parent or trusted adult, and everything is research-based and age-appropriate.
So one thing that we did do a little bit different for this year's curriculum, we moved it within our map. So it was done right after the second unit, which was done right before Christmas break. So normally it had been done in the springtime. Then we had originally maybe moved it into January. This year we moved it into the last 2 weeks of school before Christmas break to go ahead and do it there. That way there's just this cooling off period after teaching sex ed before we come back from school to do that. The other thing that we changed this year that will carry into next year is it used to be an opt-out of the entire piece or the entire session of the sex ed reproduction unit, which also still had at that time healthy relationships and other components to it. This year we broke it down into the 6 individual units, and parents could opt out of individual units instead of the whole section. We'll continue that process. That was something that was very much wanted and needed from the 6th grade teachers is parents wanted their kids to be in part of it, but not in all of it. And so we were able to take each one of those units and do more of an opt-out of individual units versus the whole piece. So that's one thing that we did change this year was within that opt-out piece. And I think we saw more success with people staying in for multiple units this year than we had in the past. Real quick, I forgot to talk about the cost. It is a very minimal cost. It's about $2.50 per student per year just for a consumable workbook that would go through. Depending on if and when this is passed, then we would start working with individual buildings and with Jenny on how do the buildings want to approach the teaching of it. She can't be in 9 different buildings at the same time, the same day, so we'd have to work out within our map and our scope and sequence if buildings are wanting to use her for her assistance for the whole time or part of the time, we would work out a schedule to do it. So each building may see when the reproductive unit is done at a different time, but it would all be done, hopefully our goal would be within the first semester. Okay, so that's the last little bit of details. Any questions?
You all have some questions?
Yeah, I might jump in a little bit. So for our new board members, just kind of like Jason said, if we're going to start with a curriculum adoption, why not start with one of the tougher ones, right? So, but that just happened to be the one that has gone through the process. So to explain a little bit about our process, typically when we're adopting a curriculum, we will have committees of teachers involved in reviewing the curriculum. They work to really make sure that that curriculum is aligned to the Kansas standards. They work through our instruction office, and after they have reviewed the materials, they come up with a recommendation that goes to our curriculum council. And that group is a group that is, what are we, somewhere between 10 and 25 people typically?
14.
14, okay. So a good cross-section of teachers from various areas, some administrators, and they give us, they're our leaders basically in terms of curriculum. So then they exercise kind of a level of vetting at that level. If it passes there, then it becomes a recommendation to the board. So there is a process that this and any curriculum that we would bring to you has gone through that starts with a lot of input from our teachers. Tonight, we're not asking you to make a decision, but we've presented information, and the idea would be at the next meeting, at our next regular meeting, we would ask you to approve this curriculum to move forward. That would be the normal process. Now, in the meantime, you may have more questions, which we can, if you get those to me, then we'll have answers for you at the next meeting. If we have too many questions or still have questions, then we could go beyond that next meeting. But typically, we would present it, give you an opportunity to ask questions tonight. If none come to mind, but you come up with some going forward, it gives the public an opportunity to know that the district is looking at this, to interact with you as representatives of the public, and give some feedback before we actually ask you to approve this, which the earliest that would be at the next meeting. So hopefully that helps a little understanding of the process.
Is the entire curriculum, is it available for us to review?
Mm-hmm. You have a copy of it that we can get, right?
Yes.
A digital copy?
Mm-hmm.
Not a digital copy.
Okay.
I have like a hard copy. But I mean, I could,
That's fine.
I've got some of the lessons with me, and I have the actual 5th through 6th grade book with me. If you'd like to take a look at some of those lessons, I can absolutely, you can look through that book, that's fine. But
This is a little bit unique in that I feel like, have we looked at our community statistical data in terms of what are we seeing in terms of trends, teen pregnancy, STIs, STDs, or grade-wise? Because, you know, we always hear as parents that kids are being exposed or experimenting so much earlier these days, and I just wonder how much of that, you know, how that relates to our community. Have we looked at any of that?
I don't have the current information, but I know it's trending downwards. For the start of when you're sexually active, on national statistics. I know on national statistics, it's trending downwards. It's less seniors are graduating high school having had sex than in the past, and so it is trending downwards. And so one of the things you hear about sexual risk avoidance, the philosophy is basically when you teach sexual risk avoidance, you're teaching kids to avoid the risk associated with sex. We don't teach our kids how to do drugs safely. We don't teach our kids how to drink safely. So that's what the idea is behind this. It's a public health model of if you haven't started, don't start. If you have started, you need to stop. And so that's what you teach through sexual risk avoidance. And so some of these programs, there's a lot of schools that have implemented them for years, and I think more kids are starting to see the downfalls of starting to having sex too early, of having sex before you're in a long-term committed relationship, of having multiple partners while you're still a child, basically. And so I know that the national trends are trending downwards. The age, I'm not really sure on. I'd have to look more at current data, and I don't know if there's anything current for our area since 2018. So
I came across something called the Sexual Behaviors Youth Risk Behavior Survey, and the last date that it gave for that is 2015. Are they still doing surveys? I'm just thinking about the survey that was presented today about different risk behavior, so I didn't know if there is also a sexual risk behavior survey that's still being done.
Can I speak to that a little bit? That's, as the director at ABC, when we first started thinking about including a program like this,
that's been one of my frustrations and challenges, is trying to get that local data. It's easy to find data for number of births to somebody who is based on age ranges, but that doesn't actually tell us pregnancy numbers, and that doesn't tell us sexual activity numbers. And the Kansas Communities That Care Survey has a wealth of information, but none of it is related to any kind of sexual behaviors of our youth. But what we do know is numbers of students being exposed to things like pornography, and even exposure to unhealthy relationships within their families, that all seems to be going up. And at ABC Pregnancy, we do see students from our local schools. We've seen in the past as young as 4th grade students come to our centers. So that's been a while since that's happened, but we do have a wide range of ages that come to us, and we know that not everybody in a situation would come to us. But it has been a challenge finding that data, and if somebody knows of a survey, I'd love to have that information as well.
I would say that, well, I'm pretty sure the last data I looked at, I think teen pregnancy rates were going down, but STD rates were going up. And I think at younger ages too.
And so one of the things, and just, I serve on the curriculum committee, so just FYI, in case we're new and we're reestablishing committees. One of the things, or a couple of the things that kind of came up is like, teacher discomfort with teaching some of the current curriculum as being, and maybe it wasn't the reason. I don't want to skew the information, but I do wonder, because you talked about some of the things we did different this year. So has that impacted then how the teachers felt about presenting this curriculum?
Yeah, I can say that breaking it down by each unit for parents to have that option, we did see a lot more students participate in certain ones rather than sit out. Not that there were a lot. And then also having like the leeway, as long as we still cover the standards, but we're able to adapt it to the needs of our specific students. That was really nice too. One thing that you mentioned that I agree with regarding like data, even though like maybe like physical sexual things are on the downward trend, we're seeing a lot of sexual exploitation of students online, and that kind of goes into that cyberbullying. So just kind of tie that into the healthy relationships, being able to be aware of that, because it's kind of astounding how many 5th and 6th graders are like sharing very inappropriate things, but they're also being manipulated by people, and so that's one thing that I appreciate about them focusing more on the healthy thing, because we have to remember we have some really young students. So like I have some 6th graders that are 10 that are turning 11 in 6th grade versus 12 turning 13. So we have a really wide range, and so being able to fit the needs of our individual classrooms has been really great and important. So.
And just to answer on the curriculum side of things real quick, the work that was put in to develop the current materials that we're using was all done by current teachers, and here it wasn't a curriculum that we purchased, and so we went and was using best what we come with. And while we always have to, through the STI and through sexual reproduction, we still use images. The Real Essentials product is going to be more sound to scientific graphics versus just some things that may be able to be pulled off the internet as quickly. So it's going to be a little bit more appropriate for our 6th grade students, and the anatomical graphics that they will be looking at will be more fitted that direction than maybe some of the curriculum that we did have, that when the 6th grade teachers were using it last year felt like it was just a little too intense at that time. So we've taken the intensity down without taking the information down.
Well, it is tricky in our district because, if you do research and you see middle school, a lot of times that's 6th through 8th,
Correct.
right? And so we're kind of in a really unique spot. So also speaking as a parent, it's kind of when you hear different information and some of the things that you talked about that your kids might already be exposed to, you want to make sure that, and they shut down, like not just, it's like you can be a parent that's trying to communicate, but they also just voice out a parent. So information coming from various places, in my opinion, is very important. I know sometimes people say this isn't a teacher's job to explain these things, it's a parent's job, and I agree to that as well, but, as we know, like, at a certain age, kids just, they're gonna zone out what you say, and so it's important that they're getting, good and factual data. So I appreciate all the steps that you went through, with this curriculum, and, I would always love to hear or see evaluations. So, like, you know, if this is passed by the board, you know, it'd be really interesting to get, and it may be too late since you presented it towards the end of the year, we've already gone through break and all that stuff, but, I mean, how parents are feeling about, you know, what their kids are getting from this particular curriculum would be good, because I think that was also one of the things that you had talked about, is parents felt like they didn't know exactly what was being presented, so I really appreciate kind of maybe a
Topic list.
For parents, so, because it's scary out there. So, thank you.
I might add too, with this curriculum, the one we have currently, as well as if the board adopts this moving forward, parents have to opt their kids in. So no kids will have this curriculum unless the parent has opted them in. And parents have the opportunity, if they want to come and preview all the materials, then we will make those materials available for parents to preview if they feel they want to do that. So, and that happens now. If we move this direction, then that will continue. It will be opt-in, and the parents will have the chance to see any or all of the curriculum that they would like to see.
I know we talked about data and current data of what our demographics are with this. Is there any way to do a survey with the kids, the students that went through this afterwards, to evaluate
What they
got out of
serious
it?
and if they didn't?
So Real Essentials is very data driven. It's all about evaluation. So when I did the training, I had to evaluate before we started, and I had to evaluate when I was done. So they actually really, really encourage you to do evaluations. I've got forms that I can give the kids at the end of the program that evaluates what they got out of it. Did they learn anything? What was something they really liked? What they thought was kind of useless knowledge? You know, it really evaluates the materials that they were given and if they were useful or not. So, yeah.
Sean, did you have a question too?
I was gonna ask you, how does the opt-in process work? I mean, is it a sent home piece of paper, or?
I assume it's a piece of paper that we send home for this.
It was a letter that we did it at parent-teacher conferences, right? In October, a letter was sent home, parent-teacher conferences, or handed out at to parent-teacher conferences. At that time, that's when the parents were to return and sign which topics they were opting in or opting out of. I think we'll need to review the letter, make sure that we'll have to update it for if this is adopted to the different topics. But basically, if you did not check mark any of them, then you're opting into all of it. If you put a check mark next to, or your initials next to the topic, that's what you were opting out of.
But if we didn't get a signed letter back, then they were not in it. It's an opt-in process. If the parent doesn't give permission, then the student does not participate.
And one thing, well, we do the letter in the language that's spoken in the home, so it's really accessible to parents. I will say, because I love the diversity of our community, we did see more students having the options of different units rather than sitting out the whole thing from maybe more like conservative cultures, maybe from like Somali cultures or Burmese. We saw more of them actually participate, at least we did on my team this year, because parents felt more comfortable. Their child could get all of these, but then sit out one that they maybe want to address at a later time. So giving that option has really paid off so far.
And can you clarify, did you say that it addresses like electronic stuff, or it does not, or like?
It does, and so there's, one of the things we can do is internet safety, knowing what's safe and what's unsafe. I can't remember if that is on the plan or not. But, so there's internet safety, there's, yeah, and so, you know, the biggest thing we talk about, I mean, I don't know if it's with sixth graders, but I know we do it's covered in the curriculum, is talking about pornography because of how dangerous it is for society, how dangerous it is for anybody to be consuming it. But talking,
You know, kids can be exposed to it on accident. That's one thing that it can totally happen by accident. But also it's teaching them the skills of, you know, here are some ways that you can avoid it, how you can know if something is safe or unsafe when you're online, and what to do if you come across something that may be unsafe. So it's very much a, you know, it really does stress the importance of building a relationship with a parent or trusted adult, because they're the ones that are going to help you when you, like, teachers, like, we can't, or, you know, community members, we can't be in their house. If something happens, they come across something online that is unsafe, we can't be there to help them and walk them through it. So it's giving them the tools to recognize if something's unsafe and the tools to recognize people who are safe that they can go talk to. So.
Is that kind of, I mean, not as far as like pornography or something, but is digital citizenship, I know we are doing that, and does that cover some of a little bit of?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Doesn't hurt to hit it more than once.
Yeah, absolutely, that's what I was saying, maybe where they definitely probably cross over a little bit.
And I mean, that's a good point, Nina. There are some components, as you mentioned, for high school, so as we get more familiar with this curriculum, it may be that some of our other, like our health classes at the high school may want to use components of this. So I think it will be a learning process, but there may be more that this program has to offer than just sixth grade.
Well, thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for your presentation and your work on this.
It was all them. I just got to be the pretty face tonight.
And we'll move on to our favorite COVID update.
Update, thank you.
I need to load this too when you get. He's gonna help you do it. I need to load this after.
Mark has been minimized, so Mark, just telling you, we can see you. There we go. Well,
You too.
yeah, but we can't seem to get access to you on the computer, so. Oh, there you go, you're right there. Uh-huh, there you go.
That one?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Right there. Oh.
Now he's back.
Now he's back.
Okay.
Oh, is that what you want, like, for us to see that it works out?
Yeah, now he's just a little window up there.
Yeah, awesome. All right, I'm gonna take you through the data quickly. I hope.
I like Mark's little.
Yeah.
He's quite the data.
It's spinning. There we go. Got it.
Oh, it's
Is
up
it?
on.
Oh, it's not up on the screen. Okay. All right.
Now, let's see here.
Nope, it's just Mark.
My mouse even over there. There it is. There we go.
The material was there, but now it's gone.
Well, I've got a nice summary that I can give if we can't get it going.
Do you see?
Nope, it's not up here.
There it is.
Oh, maybe it'll show up. Mark can see it. Nobody else can, Mark.
I have
Let Mark present.
Mark, you wanna take over?
Sure. I'm afraid, Glenda, I have to lead off with, is there any questions?
Yeah. Actually, this is a good week for me, Mark. So, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, we're there. Maybe. There you go. Oh, maybe.
There we go.
But we can't see it here.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. All right, here's the good news, bad news kind of thing with COVID. So, as you know, after we came back in January, our numbers seemed to skyrocket. There was really no other word for it. And you're going to see every single one of these charts go up. And they just seem to keep going up. Last week hasn't been added on here because the county is a week in behind us. So, so this is Finney County, and you can see that it jumped quite a bit the week before. Can we go to the next one? There we go. Positivity rate did go down just a little bit. Local hospitalizations did go back up, though the average daily patients in ICU dropped just a little bit. Okay. Yeah. So Michelle thought for sure we would hit the 1,000 student mark in 1 week's time from the 932 to 1,000, but they held off for us, so we did hit the 999. And our positive tests did drop that we were given here at school, so. Yep, scroll, yeah. There we go. All right, these are our student absences. So the top one is student absences by day. This is all student absences, and the one on the bottom is COVID absences. So you can see then that week of January 24th to the 27th that started to come back down again a little bit. Here's our weekly attendance, and this is the one we all like to see because our attendance is going back up. That's the one we want to go back up. So we're starting to see more kids in school again. There we go. And this is Heath's favorite graphic. So staff absences, you can see that we did have quite a few there at one point at that peak time. Can you scroll up just a little bit? There we go. All right, so the bottom lines are for COVID. So you can see there that we peaked at that 50 in 1 week, and then we've now come back down. And I think you set a record today on low sub requests and high fill rates, so.
Yeah, we were back to 77% fill rate today, which is the highest we've been for a while.
So it's starting to come back down again. Positive staff per week, so the top line is our cumulative totals, and then you can see at the bottom by week, we hit that 57 in 1 week, and now we're coming back down. We actually had 66 the week before that. And here's the substitute data. So again, lots of requests and not as easily filled, back down to what is more manageable for us.
number of students quarantined by day. You can see we hit a high that week where we had over 500 students quarantined. And now it came back down last week to 200, and I'm really happy to say that we were in like 2-digit numbers today. So it's really dropped again. Yep. Yep. Clear over. Yep, keep going. There you go. Oh, okay. So there should be one more slide on the PowerPoint. Okay. Well, last slide is a picture of a whiteboard that I keep in my office. I thought about bringing it in for show and tell for you because I keep track of, and literally we are down to 2 buildings that are yellow, everybody else is green as of today, yes. So we have Horace Good that is yellow, we're in good shape right now, so.
We all need
Yeah, everybody find that piece of wood because I don't want it to go the other way again, but right now we're looking pretty good.
With the new standards and guidelines that you presented, and we'd approve those with no changes to what you presented. Need to be added back in, or are they working? I'm assuming that's why some of the numbers have decreased, was because of those.
No, what that did impact is the number of kids that we had on quarantine. So kids that were healthy, but either had to wear a mask or had to stay home because they were close contact. So now we have more of those kids either coming back early or not having to be out at all.
And that may be true with our subs as well. Teachers are able to get back into the classroom on a quicker basis.
So we've not seen more cases because of the lower quarantine.
No, it's actually been less.
Yeah, the change in can come back after 5 days has really been a game changer. Linda's board, the last time it looked like this was right when we came back from Christmas. And I think it was maybe before the end of the first week, but maybe early in the second week, and all the green was gone and we were back to yellow. But to see this is really encouraging that hopefully we have seen the peak and we are trending down. We've had a few weeks here where we've not had a full week of school because of snow days and some things, and so there may be a little bit of comparing apples and oranges with where we were comparing full weeks, but most of the time, especially with staff members, those things, if they have COVID, if they're out a day because of a snow day, then we find out about it the next day. It's not like we're not gonna, it's not gonna show up. So really encouraging news, I think, and hopefully.
Yeah, we do still do the screeners in the morning, and those, kids that answer that have been exposed or I'm not feeling good, those go to the nurse. We actually only sent 2 home today. So I think that's encouraging as well, that more kids are feeling good. Our flu numbers have gone up. So we had 9 cases of flu last week and we had another one today. So we're gonna probably watch that a little bit. Maybe a trade-off there a little bit.
How many positives did we have today?
We had 1, but the student had been quarantined through that snow day and stuff, so it really didn't impact any classrooms. So we just had 1 positive today.
Do you think the contact tracing is being missed or not, or?
It's kind of a mixed bag, and it kind of depends on who you talk to, I guess. So I know we have some staff members, for example, with some pre-existing conditions that put them at risk, and I think they kind of missed some of that protection that the students wearing masks once they've been exposed gave them. But there is a method for them to appeal to the personnel department and get an accommodation, if you will. So we do still have some of those situations. So I think that was kind of a mixed bag, if you will.
Do you feel it needs to be brought back, or that we're good with?
Right now, I'm holding safe with what we've got right now, and if we go back up ask me then, and I might say, oh, we need to do something different, because right now, we're doing really good. So,
Wasn't this just a 1 month
yes,
trial?
Yes.
so
So
30
we have to
days.
reevaluate this on like the 18th of.
I think it's February
Mhm.
18th.
Yes, it is, correct. And then we'll get more guidance from the state.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on unfinished business is the discussion of board vacancy. I'm just gonna read really quickly, the information, just on the statute and then kind of what we were given as board members, just for the general public. But vacancies on board of, this is it statute, is that how you say it? 25-2022, and that's vacancies on boards of education filled by appointment, publication of notice, term of appointee. Any board shall have power to fill by appointment any vacancy which occurs thereon, and such appointee shall serve for the unexpired term. When a vacancy occurs, the board shall publish a notice one time in a newspaper having general circulation in the school district, stating that the vacancy has occurred and that it will be filled by appointment by the board not sooner than 15 days after such publication. If such vacancy occurs before May 1st of the second year of the term, leaving an unexpired term of more than 2 years, such appointee shall serve until the second Monday in January after the following general school election as provided in KSA 25-2023 and amendments thereto. In the latter event, the unexpired term of 2 years commencing on the second Monday in January after the following general school election shall be filled at such election, and the ballots or ballot labels and returns of election with respect to such office shall be designated as follows: to fill, in quotation marks, to fill the unexpired term. End of quotation. Board vacancies. I don't know if I need to read that. Do you suggest I read the no word must? No? Okay. So, the board may not interview, discuss, or vote for applicants for a vacant board seat in executive session since board members are not considered non-elected personnel. Should the board decide to fill the vacant position, the board, after waiting 15 days from the date of publishing the vacancy, may do so in any manner they see fit. Most recently, our board has used the following methods. The last 2 times there has been an opening, the board appointed the next highest vote getter from the last election. In 1982, the USD 457 board had a vacancy, and they approached prior Board of Education members and appointed a prior board member. Can I read that last statement? Okay. In talking with other superintendents, others have had interested parties apply by either completing a written application or participating in interviews with the Board of Education, which must be done in open session. So when you say a written application or participating in interviews, they can do a written application without doing public interviews, or it has to be both?
Yeah, I might just clarify. So, Dana, the statute that you read talks about publishing the notice and waiting 15 days, and the board took the step to do that, I think, on January 27th. The notice was published on February 3rd. So February 18th is the soonest the board could appoint. But how you choose to do that is entirely up to the board. I've given you a little history from firsthand experience, and then actually Brett Marshall found the stuff from 1982 and some of his research for the book that he was doing and shared that with me. I've talked to other superintendents who have had similar situations in their districts. So I've just kind of given you some ideas, but it's really up to the board how you choose to fill it. After that date is the soonest you could take action, but if you choose to do applications, they're a matter of public record. If you have people fill out, answer some questions, however you want to call that. If you decide to do that in person and ask people questions, that would have to happen in open session. But it's really up to you. You could do none of these methods, or you could combine them all into one and really make it a rigorous process to go through. So
you can have people, so far we've had 3 letters of interest. We can have people submit letters of interest, clear until the closing date, or do we assign a time when we want that closed?
You could,
Whatever,
if you,
intent.
once you decide how you wanna do this, if you wanna open it up and have people contact Stephanie until a certain date, you could certainly do that. It's, you guys get to create the process that you want to use to fill the vacancy.
So Jennifer and I talked just briefly, and what we thought might be in best interest of the board is to go ahead and read the information that was provided to us as a board, and then have any discussion. How we feel, so we need to make that decision tonight, and
You don't have to, but you certainly could decide on the process that you want to use tonight. You'll have to wait until at least the 18th before you would put your process into place.
Okay.
Right.
so can we just start with some board discussion? Have you guys had some time to kind of read through things, maybe? So 3 new board members and myself, so.
And Mark.
Oh, Mark. Oh, hi, Mark. Sorry. Mark, do you want to start us off?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I'm sort of a KISS kind of guy on this, but I've also been through this kind of thing before with my fellow board members. So, I mean, I'm pretty flexible as far as, just basically supporting the will of the board. But my vote, for what it's worth, would be to rely on the data we have at the last election, and assuming that the next highest vote getter is interested, I would lean that direction myself. But again, we've got a very collaborative set of board members, and so always interested in what other people have to say and what they think.
Thank you, Mark. John, am I putting you on the
No,
spot if we just
no,
go down?
absolutely, no, I'm fine. So I've thought about this a lot. I know there's precedent on how to do it. I also know as a board, we don't have to fill this. We can operate as a board of 6. And I know the dynamics that we have as a board right now has started off really well, and we get along good. So I'm reluctant a little bit to bring anybody into that, regardless of what method we do. But with all that being said, we've had some other events that have been put on our plate that, in my opinion, take precedent over this, and that is hiring a superintendent. So my vote is we just table it and we push it back while we deal with the other things that we have to do.
Thank you.
I think there's advantages and disadvantages to all 3. I, right now, am leaning to leaving that position open. I think we've got a good rapport with each other, and with admin and staff right now. I think leaving that open would probably be the best interest of prioritizing our needs right now. We still have to have the majority vote for anything, no matter how many are present at the meeting. I mean, we still have to have that. I think I'm for leaving that position open right now.
I agree with what Jackie and John have said. I feel like we do have really great board rapport, and I think we're making good progress all together. And I like the idea of leaving it open and let people decide when it comes around instead of us deciding that.
For me personally, what I feel I'm hearing from the community, and what I feel as well, is that we need to continue to try to diversify the board. I feel like even just, there's certain communities where they have districts, and each board member, has a different district. And I don't know that that would work for our community, but I do see where, just even on the board that we have right now, there's gaps, and whether it's like that community that represents Gertrude Walker or Buffalo Jones, right now I think we have good maybe balance in terms of element. We have kind of all the different grade levels, but 60% of our community, if I'm not wrong, I don't know, I haven't really, I guess I should have done that before I came here, is Spanish speaking. So I'm not fluent in Spanish. I don't feel like I'm the proper representative for the experience of maybe recent immigrants or our ESL learners. We've had some really good candidates in the past, and it's hard to gain momentum in the community with an 11% turnout rate of voters. So I would like to fill the vacancy of the board. We do have some people that are interested, but we also have not sooner than the 18th, and I would really love for our community to encourage people to let us know that they're interested. Like I said, we have 3, but I'd like to see more than that, and tell your friends and neighbors or colleagues or people that you think would be good representation on the board. That's the direction I would like to see us as a board take, but I also see that we have some pretty big things in front of us as well. Losing Dr. Carlin, unexpected, and so we have some, and Mr. Hogan as well, we have some top positions that we need to fill. So without Jennifer here, I hesitate to maybe make a final decision. She'll get the information here, and then maybe can we
Put it on at the next meeting.
Next meeting.
Now, if we choose to not fill it now, that doesn't mean we can't 6 months from now, is that correct?
Correct.
So are you all comfortable with that for now, that we kind of maybe table it? I think we've all kind of put our opinions. We'll let Jennifer come back and have an opinion too, and then maybe rediscuss it at the next meeting. Are you okay with that, Mark?
Yes.
Okay, and like I said, I hope people will encourage others to put in a letter of interest. It's nothing formal. It's literally just something letting our board clerk know that you are interested in filling that vacancy. So,
What languages was the notice put out in?
In the newspaper, probably just.
I think it just went in the Guard City Telegram.
in the telegram. I saw it on Facebook too. Was it on Facebook? I thought.
I think it was just English.
Can we maybe resubmit in Spanish as well?
And,
Do we have?
well, can it go out as a reminder to parents to, encourage?
Sure.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
One note, could I make a comment?
Yes.
Communication can be a challenge between board members, but also between the board and the community. And so I think there's some careful thought that needs to be put into which direction you're implying we are going. If you're going to put out solicitations for board service, and then maybe we ultimately table it for 6 months. Maybe we need to make that decision first. I just don't want any hard feelings where we get an outpouring from the community and then ignore it.
That's a really good point, Mark. Do you think we could put an asterisk with that, saying that the board has not yet made a decision, or do you think that that's still giving false hope?
Well, since we've got more board discussion to be had, I would encourage us to let the statutory notice stand for now, and that this conversation certainly has been helpful to us as a board internally. I just would caution taking actions that implies the board is going a direction in which we have not made a decision to go yet.
I think that's a good point too. Yeah.
I guess I don't have any opposition to appointing someone if there's a good diverse pool to choose that from.
Are you guys still okay on tabling it right now? I feel like we do have some pressing things like you all have mentioned, and maybe we have Jennifer on board with us and then we can move forward with that. So we'll wait on that. I think that's a really good point that Mark makes. Are you guys in agreement with that? Okay. So thank you for that, Mark. We'll go ahead and wait then, and we'll just table this
Very
for
good.
the next meeting. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, so our new business is the discussion of the superintendent search and focus groups. Oh, Jennifer's saying, can someone let her in?
Please make sure the doors are unlocked.
It just doesn't say who's. Oh, okay. She's here in time. Perfect timing. I was watching on YouTube. Well, I wasn't prepared for the last thing to discuss and.
Oh, wow.
We're at, the new business for the superintendent, just the focus groups as presented.
Whoa. This series on. Okay, sorry for the disruption. Okay, so we've moved on to new business.
Yeah.
Discussion of the superintendent search and focus groups to approve as presented.
Go ahead.
Yes.
So,
Still depending on you here.
no worries. So, following my announcement on January 27th, the board has had a conversation with the Kansas Association of School Boards and taken action to use them to assist the district in a search. Part of that is a survey that I think is out in the community right now. There also will be 5 focus groups that will be conducted next Monday. And the information from the survey as well as the information from the focus groups will be used in creating kind of the characteristics that the district will be looking for in their next superintendent, the interview questions. It will help guide KSB as they screen candidates for what the priorities are. Following those focus groups, the board will have a special meeting, I believe, next Monday evening as well to kind of take that information and give some direction based on that input from the survey and the focus groups. So the task at hand for the board tonight is to kind of approve the framework of the focus groups, and we've put it up on the screen. There will be 5 groups. There will be a group representing staff from across the district. There will be a group representing principals from each of the schools. There will be a group representing patrons in the community. There will be a group representing the district office, departments, and staff. And then there will be a group representing community partners. So those focus groups will be kept in the neighborhood of 18 to 24 people to keep them manageable. And a representative from KSB will facilitate those in order to bring information back to the board next Monday night. So what we're asking you to do tonight is to kind of approve those definitions of what those groups should look like. And then know Stephanie and I will work on specific names, and once we have some, if you approve these, then we will run those by Jennifer for final approval. And then because of the short turnaround, then we'll work on getting invitations out to make sure we have people attend those meetings next Monday. So, but I know Cammie had a thought she shared with me
I had
earlier
a
too.
couple of questions or thoughts on the principals. I thought we might consider adding the high school athletic director to that.
That's a good suggestion.
And then on the patrons one, I was gonna ask, it says the two, sorry, it's really hard reading, 2 names from each board member. How is, I just wanna make sure we get a nice diverse group of people. So I was just wanting some more information on how we're gonna make sure that happens, that it's.
I think that was part of adding in the district site council also. And I guess, since we don't know what suggestions we would have that, I don't know if that's gonna, you're worried about it not being diverse enough because we don't?
Well, who all,
Right.
I just don't want to end up with the same, I want diverse people.
Right.
From all different.
Yeah, I think Jennifer and I talked about that a little bit, and I think the idea there was if we pull six names, originally we were thinking 7 board members, but only 6. So if each board member suggests 2 names, that's 12. And then if we pull 6 people from the district site council, that way we would have, again, and those people would be patron people, not employees, but people who are serving. Those people also serve on a school site council, so they've been involved, they have some connections. But that was hopefully trying to address that it wasn't just the board choosing those people, we were also pulling some other community-minded folks.
I have a couple of questions as well. So under our community partners, I noticed that pretty much every one of our community partner is a government municipality. I was wondering about if we could have, in addition, some for-profit businesses, some of the employers in our town, some of the larger employers in our town that aren't government entities be considered as community partners. And then the other thing that the gentleman that spoke to us the other night at the board meeting talked about was like a ministerial alliance. I'm not sure if Garden City or Finney County has a ministerial alliance, but I do believe that our churches have a huge impact on our families and our students, and I would love to see that added to the list as well.
Yeah, those are good comments. I would certainly support that as well.
Does the district attorney need to be added to one?
Like the Finney County District Attorney or the board's counsel?
The board council.
Could be.
Anybody else? Any questions or?
I think those are great suggestions.
Yeah.
So can I summarize? So I think I've heard add the high school athletic director, add a representative from Ministerial Alliance, add representatives from private businesses, and add the board council. Somebody want to make a motion for that?
I so move.
Is there a second? Any other discussion?
I just would like to say that, I don't know, Dr. Carter, if you put this list together or not, but I think this would be a great, with the additions that we added, I think this would be a great pool of people to visit with and get their input. So I'm looking forward to the feedback from the focus groups.
And I might, because it was hard to read, you guys have it in front of you, but in that staff group, we have 6 teachers, and GCA will appoint 3 of those.
potential people on those focus groups. And I know personally for me, I want to hear from different parts of the community, so I'm really, as an individual board member, thinking about the names that I want to add to the list, and be people in the community that I'm not necessarily very close with, but know that they're involved in the community in different aspects that maybe I don't interact with as much. And that's, I'm not saying that to guide you in your decisions, I just kind of wanted to share what I was thinking with each of you at the table and the community on this important job we have, because it's not easy.
I know we have a motion already, but
Fine.
is there, can we add from the Garden City Area Chamber of Commerce, have them appoint someone, one or two people from the Cultural Diversity Board?
You try. I'd be glad to amend my motion to include that. We want to be careful how many we get, of course, as Gary had described, but that's a good thought.
You're keeping me up on my Robert's rules. Okay, anything else? I guess we will vote then. All in favor in approving our focus, approving the motion on our focus groups, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. And we'll continue on to the next step of that. We're ready for board open discussion. Mark, you want us to start?
Yes, in the interest of time, I didn't say a whole lot. I really regret having to attend this meeting remotely, but the sound has been very good. And I thought particularly the presentation on the curriculum was outstanding. I love the approach there, and as far as having resources for the teacher to have a facilitator come in and assist that. And I didn't really get a chance to make this comment at the appropriate time, so I'm making it now. There was some feedback from the community about how we were implementing that curriculum, and so I think also serving when I can on that curriculum council, there's been outstanding discussion about how to remedy some of what was awkwardly implemented, I think, in the recent past, just from the standpoint of trying to move it into sixth grade level. So I feel pretty good about that, and I hope people in the community will avail themselves of comment if they want to, and particularly I like the process of allowing the parents to opt in and opt out of sections of that. But one of the things I want to be sure we're able to do is healthy relationships is something that, it certainly goes beyond sex education. And it's something I think we need to put an emphasis on, whether it's packaged with that particular curriculum or not, at multiple levels. It's amazing what our students, our children are exposed to in the current electronic environment. But all of the resources discussed in the Curriculum Council and the people involved are outstanding, and I really appreciated that presentation today. That's all I have.
Thank you. John, you want to go next?
I just want to kind of echo what Mark said. I appreciated all the hard work of the presentations that were presented tonight. I enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to visiting GC Achieve on Thursday and learning more about that facility and that building. But just enjoyed the conversation tonight and what we learned. So thank you all for presenting.
I do also appreciate the presentations. And I do find comfort that the new COVID plan is not failing. Hoped it wouldn't, since it was recommended by the health department. and the staff, so, that's a positive thing, not positive thing. And looking forward to all the other things on our agenda.
I want to thank everybody for your patience as I try to maneuver this seat. I feel like Dana's been backing me up a lot, so.
Thank goodness we still have Steve.
Yeah, and Dr. Carlin, so I guess I'm kind of self-evaluating tonight, and I'll just want to work hard to be a good leader and help these meetings run smoothly and figure out all these new adventures we're on. So I appreciate the support of the staff and the community who's reached out to me. I think it's very important as a board for us to interact in the community, and I hope people feel the desire to visit with us and communicate with us even outside of this setting, so we can learn more about what people want and to help us just improve our district for our kids, because that's really what it's about. So just thank you for all of that.
Well, I'd like to acknowledge that it's School Counselors Week this week, because we have amazing school counselors, and they do a lot of work, and I don't even, to me, I can't even fathom probably all the things that they have on their plate at this moment. So if you know a school counselor, definitely thank them for all the things that they do. I personally reached out to one of my kids' counselors just last week, so I appreciate the immediate attention and feedback, and they're just amazing. So it is School Counselors Week. I just wanted to let others know that in front of the board is a letter. Jennifer has reached out to the KASB representative that spoke with us, and doing a great job of getting this search underway. And so we really want to be in good communication with the community and with the staff. So hopefully this letter will be sent out. And it's just basically letting everybody know some of the process. If you stayed on and listened today, but maybe not everybody does that. And I encourage people, the characteristic survey is already out. So if you haven't accessed it, please try and do that. And again, notify your neighbors, your friends, your colleagues, because we want input from the community. We want to work in partnership with the community. So we just wanted to put a thing out for that. And then the counselor session that was tonight, and I think it was on healthy relationships, right? It did get canceled because the games were moved, so it will probably be rescheduled. So I'm also going to put a little advert for that. Please pay attention to that and go out, because I really think it's important for parents to connect, and it takes a village. And I have teenagers, and they terrify me on a regular basis. So parent support is really important, and that's what our counselors are giving up their time and energy to provide for us. So I would just highly encourage people to take advantage of those opportunities and those resources. So, thank you.
I also just want to say thank you for all the wonderful presentations that there were tonight. It's obvious that we have a lot of great things going on in our district, and I look forward to continuing to capitalize on those things. We mentioned that we are going to GC Achieve, but I wanted to mention that we have gone to several other schools. I think it's been 3 other schools to this point, so we are trying to get around to all the different schools, meet the staff, and hear from people. And I really enjoyed that a lot, seeing the buildings and meeting everybody. So that's been super helpful as I've started on this journey thus far. So I look forward to more of those to come. But thank you.
Dr. Carlin.
I don't have anything. It would be the same as
I made
you
sure
guys.
I didn't forget you.
Thank you for remembering that. Just, again, we've got amazing things going on, and I think you guys are big. I know you know that, but you're going to see example after example, just like tonight, the expertise that we have with people and what they bring to this district. That's what really makes this the place it is. So.
Thank you. And our next regular board meeting of the Board of Education will take place on Monday, February 21st at 6 p.m. in the board meeting room. I believe we're going to move into executive session.
Madam President, I move we go into executive session for for 15 minutes to discuss personnel matters pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under KOMA, beginning at, do you have a clock in your
We don't have that clock up.
8:30, so.
8:31.
We gonna start right at 8:31, or do you want?
You ready? 8:35.
Yeah, we need 4 minutes. to do it.
Oh, okay, so we'll begin at 8:35. And the open meeting will resume in the board meeting room at, so what's 8:50? I would like to invite, I'm sorry. Because I gotta do that. I would like to invite Dr. Carlin, Heath Hogan, and Nicole Fuchs to join us in executive session.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion passed. We will move into executive session.
Is that gonna remain in here? Or?
Some things, I want you to stay.